Hey everybody, this is the second episode of Meet DCC, and today we are talking with our own Shirley Larsen, also a member of our council. So, Shirley, if you wanted to start and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, my name is Shirley Larsen. I have lived in Decorah for 26 years. Oh, the 27. This is the end of, or we'll start 27 in August. We came here in '93 with two little kids in tow, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. Kirk took a job at Luther, and that's what brought us here. We came from Southern Ohio, where Kirk was doing a postdoc, and we ended up here sort of thinking we would stay for a little while and have never left. And whether that's good or bad, I don't know. Yes, so our 3-year-old is now a 30-year-old married woman living in Philadelphia. And in the midst of this pandemic, she and her husband are buying a house, which is a little bit crazy, but hopefully that's okay. And then our 1-year-old is now 28 and in a PhD program at University of Michigan. Recently got married to a lovely gal, Erin, and they are both in lockdown in Michigan together and seem to be blissfully happy with it as newlyweds. And then our youngest is our only native Iowan. She's 25, Kendra, and she's living in Grand Rapids. She has a job with a nonprofit to write Love in Her Arms. And she also is locked down. All 3 of our kids, so there's no running around for them. So they're all in good places, and I'm a nurse going to work here shortly, and I work at Winneshiek Medical, and I work in same-day surgery and infusion therapy. I will be doing something different today that I've never done before. I'll be the screener outside today for people coming into the ER. Is that enough? Oh, I grew up in a, supposed to tell you something about, let's see. I grew up in Ontario, Canada. Went to school in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which is where I met Kirk at Calvin, and then we got married and traveled around, moving around for his education. Grew up in a Christian home. I have a mother who is 90, almost 93, who is very bored, locked in her apartment by herself. And I have a brother and 4 sisters.
And Shirley, you and Kirk and your family were part of the original founding families of DCC. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that was like, or how you saw God at work in that process, or what you learned?
Sure. Was one of those things that was not on our radar at all, about thinking we would do something like that, although we had trouble feeling like we could find our place when we were first here in a church body. So as we got to know these other families, we started to have a Bible study on Saturday night, and then that sort of evolved into a little bit more of a worship time and study, and then that brought up the conversation of, maybe we should start a church. Decorah really could use, and I always describe it as a church sort of in the middle. Like, we had Lutherans and we had Baptist, and much in the middle. Is sort of how I, in my simpleness, have always felt that that's kind of where we try to fit. And we wanted to be a place where God's word was alive in community, a community with amongst ourselves and amongst in the broader community. So, yeah, it was a lot of work. It was something that I think probably 75% of our thought and work and stuff, and outside of our actual work, was focused on church stuff and keeping it going, and how do we get to connect with people. And I do think the way we started and we interviewed different churches and how we ended up in the Covenant Church was definitely a God thing. I think that's God wanted us to be here, and that's just a long story to go through, but I think He's been very faithful to us. He has brought us wonderful people. I always say to people if I talk about the church, I always say, we have I feel like we have great people here that really are wanting to live a life that's honoring to God and grow in that. For the most part, we all fail, but I feel like that is generally the feeling that people, and I think that's really wonderful, and I'm grateful for that all the time.
Thank you for that. So, do you want to talk a little bit about what your life normally looks like and versus what it looks like now in this social distancing moment?
Well, yes, that one thing I've learned, well, I've always known this about myself, is that I'm an extrovert. That first week at home when we were supposed to be on vacation, visiting our kids, was a little difficult. First of all, you're getting used to it, and then you had nowhere to go. Like, you had no plan to go. You couldn't really go. Yeah, I was a little needy. So I made more phone calls. I don't post much on Facebook, but I made 3, I think, that week. So that's a pretty big deal for me. So yeah, so that was hard. I think I'm getting a little bit more used to it. I'm also back to work, so I do have some interaction with people, so that's good for me. So yeah, so sorry if I called or you didn't really want to talk to me, but anyways, so yes, I have learned that about myself, that I've known that, but it's been more apparent to me. So now I just go for walks, so we walk outside somewhere or something like that. I am definitely a people person, and that's the part I think that is hard for me, is that I like, the Zoom has been good and that kind of thing, but it's not the same as seeing people in flesh and blood. So for me, that's the hard part.
Have you seen ways that God has given you gifts in this season, or ways that He's blessing you, or blessings that are coming out of this?
Like I was thinking about last night, trying to think. In some ways, it's been good for Kirk and I, because we were fairly busy people, I guess, and that's kind of gone. And I realized, last night, I was asking him this silly quiz that somebody had posted on Facebook or something, and and I was asking these silly questions, right? And I just had to kind of wow, we have not talked like this, just random silliness or just little things that in a while, that we both, came home, we would talk about things and we would discuss things, whatever, but now we just have each other, and so it's like, I find I'm telling him the random little things that I wouldn't have, I don't think. So I think that's, in a way, that's a good thing. It's been good.
That's cool. Yeah, and maybe you talked about it a little bit, but ways that, or what you feel like God is maybe teaching you in this season, or?
Well, about myself probably somewhat, but there are some things like I don't know how to say this exactly, but like I just feel like in some ways we are still in a privileged spot. Kirk and I both have jobs. We haven't lost our jobs, and I know there are people in our midst that probably have and maybe will, one of my daughters included, and I just think, I don't know, some of that stuff, and as I think about, it's the poor people that are gonna suffer once again, the impact of this mostly. And I don't know what to do with that in some ways. Like, that's for me a big challenge. And, the reality is I don't, with my job, I don't know what's coming. The next 3 weeks are a little bit, scary to think about what could happen. I don't think it's going to be in New York City, but we don't need 100 people to overwhelm us. We need only 10. So yeah, that for me is a challenge to think about. Like, how much am I willing to suffer, give up? Yeah, there's just some big questions in there. So I don't know how much more I need to say or what to say.
Yeah, thank you for that, and we will be praying for you, Shirley, as you are on the front lines of this. That will wrap up our second episode. If you would like to be interviewed for Meet DCC, be sure to let Julie know before she comes to find you.
I was going to say, have you had any offers?
All right, till next time.